This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for September 8, 2023. And in the news this afternoon, government says FID and the FSC independently funding SSL fraud probe. The government has provided a breakdown of the source of funding for expenses being incurred by the Financial Investigations Division and the Financial Services Commission in their investigations into the fraud at the Stocks and Securities Limited. In reiterating that both entities have assets to fund their expenditures, the Ministry of Finance outlined that the FID is using a portion of $300 million held in an interest-bearing account. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark said the funds are from assets confiscated from wrongdoers under the Proceeds of Crime Act and do not constitute tax revenue. He added that taxpayers' money will not be used to pay the salaries of employees at SSL.
Let me just state that the resources that will be used by the FID to finance the extraordinary expenses associated with its investigation into SSL will not be from tax revenues. These extraordinary expenses will be funded from the proceeds of assets confiscated from wrongdoers by the FID pursuant to Jamaica's Proceeds of Crime legislation. The resources that will be used to temporarily and on a short-term basis pay SSL salaries and expenses, which facilitates the maintenance of client accounts and facilitates the investigation, will not be from the government of Jamaica's tax revenues. The resources in this regard will be from the FSC. The FSC is self-financing. It does not receive the proceeds of tax revenues, and it has approximately $1.8 billion in reserves. SSL still has custody of approximately $30 billion in client funds spread across 8,000 client accounts. This has been necessary to facilitate the investigation. Now, retention of some of SSL staff members, along with the maintenance of custody of client funds, have, for example, allowed investigators to eventually determine that the scope of fraudulent activities has affected 70 accounts. However, these 8,000 client accounts require staff to be on hand to respond to voluminous client queries. Even while SSL is in temporary management, it's in a comatose state, but it has a responsibility to maintain client records.
JP on fraud charges remanded until October 24. Justice of the Peace and the paralegal Georgia Messam White, who is accused of defrauding close to $30 million from two prospective property owners, has been remanded until October 24 for plea and a case management hearing. When the matter was called up in the Kingston and the St. Andrew Parish Court Thursday afternoon, Mrs. Messam White's attorney, Stephen Powell, sought time to pursue an application and have the case transferred from the mentioned court to plea and a case management. Mrs. Messam White is charged with 8 counts of fraudulent conversion, 6 counts of engaging in a transaction that involves a criminal property, and the 6 counts of unlawfully making available device or data for the commission of an offense. In the first matter, it was alleged that over the period April 2018 to April 2019, the accused received $27 million from the complainant, which should have been paid over to an attorney for the purchase of a property in St. Catherine. But Mrs. Messam White allegedly issued a letter on the letterhead of the attorney with a carriage of the sales agreement to give the said attorney undertaking for the property. As a result, the attorney transferred the property to the complainant, but the funds received by Mrs. Messam White were not handed over. In the second matter, Mrs. Messam White allegedly received $10 million sometime in February and September 2020 from the complainant for the purchase of a property. But on receipt of the funds, it is alleged that Mrs. Messam White broke off communication with the complainant. Second suspect charged in relation to Barbican drive-through double murder. Detectives from the Criminal Investigations Branch have charged a second suspect in connection with last year's killing of 2 men in a car park on Barbican Road in St. Andrew. He is 21-year-old Shadrick Thompson, a farmer of Homestead Road, Kingston 8. Garland Holmes, 20, otherwise called Nippy, of Norman Avenue, Kingston 2, was previously charged in connection with the incident. Kahim Harris and Akeem Morgan, both of Confidence View Lane, Standerpipe, St. Andrew, were killed on Thursday, December 29, 2022. It was reported that about 6:50 a.m., Harris and Morgan were at the drive-thru at a food establishment when an argument developed between them and other men, including Thompson, who were waiting in line. The confrontation escalated, and the men traveling in another motor vehicle, armed with knives and machetes, joined the clash. The men attacked Harris and Morgan, chopping and stabbing them. They were transported to hospital where they were pronounced dead. Footage of the incident was circulated on social media. The police say Thompson was apprehended in St. Mary on Wednesday, August 31. He was charged on Wednesday, September 6. The cops are seeking other suspects in the case. Attorney livid as a client is still detained despite being granted bail. Attorney Laurita Allen Brown is livid amid the continued detention of her client despite being granted bail. Her client, Guyanese national Akeisha Pigot, was shot 3 times during an alleged confrontation with the police late last month. Reports are that on August 17, a police party signaled a vehicle being driven by Odin Wright and with Miss Pigot aboard to stop. The police alleged that the driver tried to evade them but was blocked. He then reportedly fired at the lawman. The police say the gunfire was returned and both Wright and Miss Pigot were hit. They were transported to hospital where Wright was pronounced dead and the woman admitted under police guard. The police say they obtained a search warrant for the woman's apartment. According to attorney Rita Allen Brown, the police executed the warrant despite no other person being at the premises. Following a search, the police reported the discovery of a 9mm pistol on a bedside table. Ms. Pigot was charged on August 24 for possession of a prohibited weapon and unauthorized possession of ammunition. Mrs. Allen Brown told the news that her client was granted bail in the sum of $500,000 with 1 to 3 sureties and on condition that she surrenders her travel documents. According to Mrs. Allen Brown, the investigating officer has stated that the whereabouts of the accused woman's passport is unknown.
What I want is for the police at counterterrorism and organized crime to tell to the court where my client's passport is. I myself visited CETOC and physically looked at the passport that was in the possession of the investigating officer. And to my surprise yesterday, I am told by the gun court registry that when they contacted the investigating officer, he told the court that he was told by someone that my client's passport was sent to PICA. Now when asked who sent it to PICA, who told him it was sent to PICA, and who at PICA would be in receipt of the passport, the investigating officer told the court that he doesn't know. So he doesn't know who told him that it was sent to PICA, and he doesn't know who sent it to PICA, and he's unaware of who would have received it at PICA. We need the passport to surrender to the court. Her condition in custody, as the doctor's report would have indicated on the 30th of August, is that particularly one of her wounds on the back is severely infected and that she needs to seek medical attention urgently. On my last visit to her on Monday of this week, she indicated that she had not seen a doctor up until that time and that she still has to use the assistance of her cellmate to dress the wounds on her back and on her arm, and that she had no more dressing, no bandage, nothing to put on the wound other than what was there at the time. So with that said, I am not certain what is it that the police expect of my client, and the doctor's report would have been clear, detailed report from the doctor.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.